Greetings and welcome to part 2 of a 2-part video series where we're exploring Livid Instrument bass, Ableton Live 9, and external synthesizers. My name is Casey Harvey Taylor and I'm a product specialist here at Livid Instruments. Let's dive right in by taking a look at what I have set up in the Ableton Live set for us. You can see I have 2 tracks here, one labeled MIDI routing, the other audio in. The MIDI routing, it has the input coming from bass and the output going out micro light port 2. Now that's a Mo2 interface that allows me to move MIDI in and out to various synthesizers in the studio here. What I have it being sent out to is to the Novation Bass Station 2. So I'm sending just a singular MIDI node over 1 bar here. It's just C3. It's being sent out to the Bass Station 2 and then coming back in on my audio interface on channel 3. Now the Bass Station 2 is natively recognized. If I switch over to it, there's going to be no change. The purpose of me having it on port 2 is just to show you that you can do this with any external synthesizer, even if it's not natively recognized, as long as it can send and receive CC messages, MIDI CC messages. Now that we have that set up, in the previous video I had a Max for Live device that was allowing us to send CC messages from bass out to the Moog Minotaur. This time we're going to do things a little bit differently. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to the Livid editor. The editor is going to allow us to do some editing directly to bass itself. So I'm going to go in. You can see that it's showing all of the different ports available on the Mo2 device, on bass, on the various keyboards here. I'm going to controls because that's going to be for the bass controls. Now you'll see that it gets recognized and it verifies that the firmware is all up to date. What I want to do here is just do something pretty simple. So if we start up the clip again, we'll go ahead and get that note going. So that's going to go on. What I'd like to do now is just change the frequency on the filter here. This is just an example, just to start you down the path of doing this sort of stuff. Now what I want to do is I can go over and I'm going to go over to the user bank. At the user bank, I'm going to route this fader here. I'm going to create that to the cutoff frequency. So I know from looking things up on the Bass Station manual that the CC message that it wants to receive, that the Bass Station wants to receive for that is on channel 16. So what I'm doing here is I'm going in and I'm saying that I want this touch slider, which I'm touching with my finger here, I want it to be on 6, to go with 16. It's a CC message, absolute and fine will work. Node send node on. We don't need to have the send node on, and we can go ahead and save to device. Now, if I go ahead and go back over to that user bank, you can see that I have gone through and I've mapped the frequency there. So that's just a brief way to start mapping stuff using the user banks on bass, because I'm running the remote script. I'm just utilizing a user bank here, and I'm using the editor. This is going to get you really deep as compared to just the Max for Live device that I showed in the other video. This is going to allow you to map out everything that you want to put your fingers onto. Next up, I'm going to just show you briefly how to make a quick sample off of one of your external synths. All right, and now we're going to move on to creating a sampler instrument with your external synths samples. So we're going to move away from bass for just a moment, and what we're going to do is get everything chucked into a sampler. To give you a brief rundown of kind of what I've done here behind the scenes is I've created several different MIDI clips here. Instead of just doing C3, I have C1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I recorded those in, so you can see there's the waveform C1, C2, C3, C4, and C5. I'm going to want to take these samples now and put them into sampler. So we'll go ahead and put a sampler, chuck it right over here, and we will grab these clips that are samples. And you'll see that it says 5 of 5 samples are selected. Those are actually put into the sampler. If we were to play this right now, and we were here on the sampler, it's You can hear it's playing kind of multi-octaves, but we want to have these be just singular octaves. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in and I'm going to open up the zone. Now, I know that each one of these was sampled from an octave range, so what I'm doing is I'm selecting all of these, and I'm just going to drag those down just one octave. I also know that things started right at C1, so I'm just going to go ahead and take this, and now I'm going to move these exactly where I want them to be. C2, C3, C4, and C5, and everything looks like it should be good. So the key element here is that you're going to want to make sure that each one of these little R's that stands for root key is exactly where you sampled it. So if I go up to note 2 here, this is not C7, this is actually going to be C2. So I can go ahead and there it is, C2. So I'm just going to move forward with this. All right, and so I've got all of those put on their root notes. And now you can hear that we are getting you can see here that we're getting a singular sample being played rather than all of those samples all at once. Cool thing about this is now I just took a monophonic synth and I made it polyphonic. That's a quick, fast, and dirty way to get you into sampling your external hardware. The way I'm going to make it as simpler is that you just go ahead and click here, and you can see there's this little thing that says sampler and simpler, and that will make it so that even if you don't have Live 9 Suite, you will be able to utilize this instrument. Thank you so much for watching and checking in with us, and keep your eyes peeled for the next round of videos.